Hi everyone, we're back at the garage today to see the Yamaha thunderace in daylight. So even when I collected it yesterday, it wasn't daylight either end here or there. So the things I'm going to be looking for is the paintwork. How good is it? How bad is it? What does it need? It might need a full fairing set. Tyres, will they pass an MOT? How much life have they got left? Rear brake needs looking at. Exup valve, if it's still on there, and stuff like that. So first thing I'll do is I'll pull it out, I'll get the camera stand, and we'll have a good look at it in the daylight. So here we are out in the daylight. Some of it's really disappointing. The back panels came out okay. They look pretty good. They were probably good to start with. The tank is terrible. I don't know how much you can see on camera. I mean, look at that. Absolute rubbish. Overspray. The frame has overspray. Side panels are rubbish. I think that's glue. Everything on this bike is butchered. Paintwork's not too bad there. It can be shined. I think they've used glue on everything. Glue. It's ridiculous. You're better off with a cable tie at least. It's secure. Right, tyres. Front tyres, good. Loads of tread left. What tyre is it? It's a Supermax. Cool. Rear tyre. Let's have a look. Rear tyre's good. Plenty life as well. Is that also a Bridgestone? What is it? Battle Axe. Okay, so tyres are good. Exhaust is good. It's an art can. Rear paintwork will polish up okay. Let me find out what's going on with that seat there. Look at that overspray. Look at that. How? I might be able to polish that off. I'm not sure. Some of the job. Some of it's terrible. From a distance it looks alright. No obvious signs of an oil leak. That's good. That means it just needed topping up. Let me see the headers. Are they look the original. That means there should be an exup valve on the other side. We will test if that's working. And I think one of the first things I'm going to look at is the rear brake this morning. See if I can get something going on. I'll maybe whip off this rear panel and see if there's even fluid in it. Maybe the fluid dropped too low or something, so we'll look at that. Okay, so this is a full race system exhaust. There is no exup valve. I can't see any of it at all, nothing, the wires. The whole system's been changed, downpipes, and it's an all-in-one system. So that explains the kind of lack of low-end grunt. I mean, it's not lack of grunt, it's just a bit notchy. These are designed to run with the exup valves. That's Yamaha spent, you know, millions of pounds designing them. So taking the exup valve off is so annoying. It's one of the most annoying things because they never run as they should. You know, never. So yeah, that's the deal with the exhaust system. It's a nice system. I'm sure it was very expensive. I'm sure it's an art can, so it's probably the, you know, the closest you'll get to it running well. It would have been well designed, but it will never run as well as when it has the exup valve on it. That doesn't mean it's not reliable. That doesn't mean it doesn't run well enough. It just means it won't do exactly what it was designed to do. You can tune these. You can dyno tune them. You can tune the carbs from experience and from, you know, other people's experience. You'll never get it running as smooth as when it had the exup valve, no matter what you do. So the best thing is to choose a decent system that's been kind of designed to run as best as it can with this and get on with it, really. So that's not the end of the world, but it's just a bit annoying. I prefer the exup valve to be on it and working. Alright, I think let's go straight into the rear brake. I'm gonna get the seat off somehow and see if there's any fluid in there to start with. Okay, so straight into it. This wire's loose. I mentioned last night that it the Oxford heated grips may just be disconnected. That could be what this is. Although one of the keys has an alarm on it, which is not here at all. There's no alarm on this bike, or at least no obvious alarm at this point. So it could also be an alarm system. So I'm going to throw a fuse in there after and connect that up and see what happens. I need to get down to here, the reservoir for the brake fluid. So I'm going to be whipping off this panel next here. So I've done plenty of brake stuff on my channel, so I'm not going to go too nuts on this one, filming wise. At the moment it's simply this bolt and this bolt. They're 12s. Whip them off and then have a look and see what the caliper looks like, what's going on, get the pads out if I can, and then look at cleaning it, greasing it, giving it its winter service. So I've dropped it off here. I can't see any signs of leaks. However, the pads, they're in a bad state. They haven't been serviced in a long time. The actual pads themselves are fine, but it's in a bad way. I doubt I can clean these up at all, but I'll give it a shot and see how it goes. First thing I'm going to do is get these two pins out, which I'm sure will be a right pain, and drop the pads so that they're out of the way of grease and everything. Ideally I'll be ordering new pads for this very soon anyway. So having another look, now the pads are out, I'm going to follow the same system. Get some WD in there, try and get it clean, try and pop it out, although there's no pressure in the system at all. That piston's not moving, yet there's fluid in the system. So I think the plan at the moment is to get these greased out, see what's going on, and see if I can get the pistons moving at all, and then popping them out fully and cleaning them with a tiny bit of grease ready to go back in. So the pistons aren't showing any movement at all. I know there's fluid in the reservoir. That means there's probably not a leak at this stage. They show very, very gentle signs of movement. Now what I'm thinking is somebody's tried to do a quick fix and tried to bleed this and done it wrong. So I'm going to just nip these off, see if I can get some air out at this stage, and see if I can get them pistons moving. I need to get them moving out to be able to clean them, to be able to put them back in, basically. So the next stage, see if there's any air in this system at all, to ideally get these pistons out. So the bleed nipples were rock solid. What I did was I bolted the caliper back on, which you should always do, and then I used a normal 8mm on a ratchet to loosen them up. I put my foot on the rear brake so it was pressurised. I don't want to lose the pressure at this stage, and the pistons appear to have much more movement already. So as I said, I'm going to pop them out as far as I can, give them a good clean, push them back in, and we may even get some rear brake by the end of this, although I'm not holding my breath. So see how much the piston came out now? That's perfect. That gives me the scope to pop it out, clean it, tiny bit of grease in there, and pop it back in, and then pop the other side out and do exactly the same thing, and then grease everything else up that that won't affect the brake pads, and then we're looking good so far on this one. This could become a working rear brake again at this stage. So I'm going to pop the piston out, give it a clean, pop it back in, and pressurise the system and do the same thing on the other side. So here we are. I've done what I'd normally do for winter service. I need to pump the brakes, get them going, see if they engage, see if it stiffens up. I'm not sure this time. I think they probably need a full rebuild, but we'll have a look. So there's some pressure there. I thought kind of like a front brake they should be rock solid before any movement, but maybe not. Only way to really test it is to take it out. So that's what I'll do. I'll throw the seat on. I'm going to top up the coolant. There is coolant in there, but I'll just top it up a touch. Throw the lid back on the reservoir. Give it a very quick spin. See how it goes. That's if it even starts up today. Then I'll start looking at, I believe there is some pressure in that system. I believe that will work. And then we'll think about what needs doing next. Remember, the shocks are definitely slightly twisted. I have no idea how or where or, you know, what's going on. I might have to strip the whole front end, which will be annoying, but there's hardly any screws in it anyway. So we'll see about that. I'll give it a quick run. Let's see if there's any back brake at all. So I'm just warming the bike up for a minute or two. I topped up the oil again. I don't think it's leaking, I just think it was really low. And I'm going to take it for just a quick spin up and down just to check the back brake. See how that goes. I'm not going to put on the rear panel or the rear seat at this point. Great, rear brakes sorted. That's really good. That's one job out of the way. So back to this wire here. I've thrown a fuse in there, 25, and all I'm going to be doing is touching it to positive, seeing what happens. We could hear a beep. If we hear a beep, there's some sort of alarm system on this bike. The actual key, I'll show you. Look, that's an alarm system there, and all these other keys actually work. So it's had some sort of alarm system on it in the past. This could be the alarm system. So if it beeps, it'll be that. If it doesn't beep, I'm going to check the Oxford grip module up here and see if that comes on. It could be either or. If I touch this and I blow up, then I guess this bike's free to whoever gets here first. And thank you to all the subscribers, all 105 of you, for watching me blow up. Right, let's see what this does. I'm a bit nervous. Beep or grips, or I get hurt. I heard. What was that? Interesting. It's the heated grips. Okay, you can see the blue lights on there at 75%. See that? So they are heated grips. I'm still holding it. I'll probably just wire that back up. They might be quite nice for the winter, or I'll just leave them off for the next owner to make that choice. Yeah, I think so. Right, hang on, what did I do? Did I slip? So they are heating. Yeah, that works fine, that does actually. Okay, that's good. So it has working heated grips. Great. Gonna have a quick look at... I'm gonna see if I can polish off some of this. I'm gonna see if my metal paint will take it off, my metal cleaner will take it off or anything, just to neaten it up. We'll have a go at that. So I'm gonna try a normal rag at this stage and some metal polish. I'm not sure it will take off paint, but we'll see. It kind of is taking it off, actually. Look at that. Alright. I better get on with it then. Let me try a slightly rougher Scotch pad. Not bad at all. Not bad, much better. Much better. What a pain though. If you're doing any spraying, just mask up properly. It just makes sense. What's the other side like? Just as bad, of course. very hard to get up into that part there. Up into there. Shows you how good the paint is. It's coming off the tank as well. So next thing I need to look at is just getting off some of that top fairing to be able to look at what's going on with the suspension, loosening up all the bolts and straightening out of it. What I'll do is I'll hammer rate this and then I'll come back and show you where I'm at. Okay, so here we are. We've got the front off. Again, wasn't much holding it on. Now, what normally happens if you get a knock or a slight knock or you drop the bike is the forks twist in the frame. What you normally have to do is loosen these two and these two over here and then kind of realign them, and you'll know they're realigned as well by the mudguard will come back into shape. It will go back into the middle. So that's what I'm going to be doing, loosening them up and getting them a touch straighter. They're not that far off at all, absolutely not dangerous. It could absolutely be used, but it's just an annoyance. I don't know if you can see, let me drop the, if you can see, so that should be dead center, and this is very slightly to this side, so it needs to come back to that side, so the wheel needs to come this way. So that's all that's going to be doing. Loosen them up, turn it a touch, tighten them back up, and you should be back on track. So I've done that, exactly what I said, loosen them up, straightened it out, tighten them back up. You can see now that the mudguard sits absolutely perfectly down line. It sits bang smack in the middle. It's very hard to see on camera, but it is. And I've nipped it all back up. I'll throw on that top fairing again and I'll take it for another spin just to make sure. But I believe the steering is okay. Also, them nuts weren't very tight anyway, so anything could have made it spin. It could have spun under any circumstances. I think someone's tried to love this bike, but they were obviously home mechanics, and they just, everything's just been bodged. Either that or they used a bad mechanic who's just bodged everything and not tightened things up. And it's such a half and half, this bike. All of the nuts and bolts are greased and kind of okay, yet the actual jobs done to this bike aren't okay. So it's very half and half. It's a very hateable bike. I mean, I really dislike this bike, but hopefully that will change. You know, the more I get bits and pieces done, So let me throw on that top fairing again. I'll have to take it for a quick spin and see what the steering's like. Okay, so second run to check the steering this time. It's going to feel weird to me anyway because I rode it yesterday for ages with slightly bent steering, but I'll have to judge if it's straightened or not. Great, so steering is aligned. So far today we got the rear brake done, we got the steering aligned. Actually, it's, you know, it's big stuff getting all that done. Oil's topped up, coolant's okay. What else do I need to look at today? There's no exup valve to work on, it's completely been taken off. And the Oxford heated grips work. I could just connect them straight back up. Ah, yes, the left, that's right, the left hanger here. Whoa! I'm gonna have to see what I can do with that, if it tightens up at all, if it doesn't, why it doesn't, and so on. Let's get something on there and see. What size is that? Way too big. Small. Just like that. That's not tightening at all. I don't know if that's tightening. That one tightened. Okay. Let's try the top one again. Now there you go, top one's tightening. Great. Good. I'll need to keep an eye on that, take it out a few times, make sure it doesn't loosen up. I mean, normally I'd wonder why it was loose, but actually with all the other bodge jobs on this bike, someone probably just left it loose, rather than it having wiggled itself loose. That should be fine. I'll have to check that it engages all the gears properly as well, and stuff like that. So we're not bad at this stage. What's a real shame about this bike is, again, the panels. I better check the lights after messing with it all. Yeah, it's fine. yeah, what's a real shame is the bodywork. I might look online, see if I get a Chinese set. It costs about 400 in the end, but I think the bike's nice enough to justify it. It would owe me 7, 8, 9, 10, 1100. It'd probably be worth 1100. I'd need to put an MOT on it, so it'd owe me 11 or 1150, let's say. But it would look pretty mint. But again, it doesn't have the exup valve. People don't like that. The other thing is, I put an MOT on this next week and sell it as it is. It would owe me, what would it owe me? It would owe me, well, 700 really, plus a bit of travel, 730, plus an MOT, another 30, 40 quid. So it would owe me kind of 780 with a year's MOT and having been serviced. It could still go for £1,000, especially with that exhaust. Do you know what? I'm going to check the air filter. Let's see how serviced this bike is or isn't. The air filter will tell us. So in regards to the air filter, you take the tank off, leave all of the tubes hooked up. You don't need to mess with them. Just tilt it to the side like this. Switch the fuel off if you need to, and so on. And then you undo one screw, which is that one there on that top, and you pull out the air filter. Now this air filter is dirty, but it's not shocking. It's a cleanable one, so I'll be giving it a bit of a clean and a dry and throwing that back in. The carbs are just down here. If I could be bothered, I'd be giving them a clean, but I don't think it needs it. I think it's running fine. I might put some high octane fuel in, or some, carb cleaner in to help it burn off any crap that's in there. Not that there is, but otherwise it's fine. Look how dirty the carrier is though. I'll give that a good clean in a minute. Yeah, and there's a tiny bit of, might be fuel spilled, might be. Nah, it seems fine. So that's all okay at this stage. So yeah, I'm going to give the air filter a clean, and I'll throw that back in probably tomorrow. It won't make the most huge amounts of difference. This is quite a free-flowing filter anyway, but you never know, it's a bit cruddy. Every little helps. So that's kind of it today really. I'm going to get online and see if I can buy a panel set. Ideally not China. Ideally someone will have a tank and a panel set here near London or in the UK. And I'll clean the filter. And apart from that, there's not really much more it needs doing. The indicator needs doing, but I'm sure that's just the wiring. This one will probably be just the bulb and silly bits like that. So that's it for the thunderace project today. I can't do any more until I've cleaned the air filter, thrown that back in and buttoned the whole thing back up. But we've done a lot today. Rear brake's working. It's not the strongest rear brake out there. I might tie it down today to help the pistons pop out a bit more, and to help any air escape if there's any in there. But apart from that, it is what it is really.